So we're supposed to be mocking up some alien food for this book trailer, and I have no idea how this is going to come out, but I thought we would just play with color and glow. So I have a few key ingredients here. Some tonic water for quinine, which makes things glow in the dark when you add a black light. I also got some color spray paint, which we can paint on the food, and some cake dyes, which come in very interesting fluorescent colors. So we're just gonna have a little fun with that. What we have here is some ordinary pears and potatoes, and both of those are foods that absorb color really well. Especially the pears, which usually mulled pears take their color from wine, but we're going to substitute food coloring and see what interesting effects we can get there. And then we're going to take the potatoes and we're going to mash them and see what colors we can turn them as well. We want what we're doing to still be edible, so I put some sugar in this pot, and we're going to add some white wine instead of the red wine you normally use for making mulled pears. And we're also going to add some teal food coloring so that we can get this liquid turned as blue as possible. When you're working with gel food coloring, you usually use a toothpick. You insert the toothpick into the gel to get a nice amount of color on it, and then you take that toothpick and swirl it into the thing you're trying to dye. If you don't have enough gel in the first go, then you do it again and repeat the process until you have enough color. Look how beautifully blue this poaching liquid is. Now we're going to take the pears, which we've carved into smaller shapes so that they're a little bit unrecognizable. We're going to put them in the liquid, and we're going to let this poach for about, an hour. So the plan here is to make mashed potatoes and then dye them. For a better texture, I prefer to cut the potatoes into chunks and steam them rather than boil them. So we'll check in on them when they're done. We're going to attempt to spray paint some stripes onto this chicken with the edible food coloring. So I thought if we cut it into strips, those cut edges would probably absorb more color. And they're going to be nice and pretty much white off white by the time they're done cooking here, and then we'll be able to fancy them up. I want to test out the effect of this Color Mist edible spray paint before we add it to the chicken. So I'm going to try the purple and the black on this coleslaw and see what comes out. So this is the purple, and we're going to spray this one. Then we'll let that dry and toss it together. It came out fairly wet and fairly bright. So then we'll take the black and we'll try it with this one. At this point, I think the black is far more interesting, but we'll see what it looks like when it dries. So this is what tonic water looks like under a black light. We're going to play with that effect a little bit. This is yogurt. Dairy is also supposed to glow under a black light, and this is kind of glowing, but it's not extremely bright. So we're going to mix it with our quinine and some glitter and see what else we can do to make it really shine. We prepared a normal batch of mashed potatoes. So we're going to take the pink dye and the toothpick, and we're going to repeat the same process of swirling the dye into the food and seeing what color we can come out with.
Wow.
Now look at that gorgeous pink color. There are a few lumps in there so that there's still another tone, which makes it look like a completely different food. So this is just plain white rice with water ready for cooking. When it's done, I'm going to add a little bit of this rice seasoning, which has umi palm in it and a few other things for texture. But in order to make it look alien, we're going to dye the water purple. So now we're going to attempt to make this chicken look quite alien with some color mist. I'm going to try different patterns and styles to see how this works best. Let's start over here. I may have to lighten it up a little to make it look more natural, but I do like the striped effect. So I'm going to use a lighter touch this time. Try to. This one will just be purple. As promised, we have seriously bright purple rice. So we're going to take the seasoning mix and blend it in so that this will have a little texture, a little extra color. Not that we don't need it with that purple. And then we'll add it in with the other dishes. We're also going to attempt to do some salt crusted crab sticks. And in order to make the salt look alien, we're going to dye it blue. So we're putting a couple of drops of food coloring in here to mix with the salt. Then I'm going to seal the bag, and I'm going to shake it to distribute the color. You can see it's already starting to turn a nice teal blue. And I'll just keep shaking until the color is evenly distributed. There you go. So now we're going to take our sushi crab sticks and we're going to roll it in the salt to give it an interesting texture and color. While this is technically non-toxic, it's probably not a good idea to eat. I'm actually quite disappointed with the way this yogurt and tonic water sauce came out. The black light doesn't really make it glow at all, even though both ingredients are supposed to. And the shimmer dust that I thought would give it a nice effect just looks really dark. And when you put it on the dish, that doesn't seem to help. Because that looks just the same. I mean, you can kind of see a glow there. So I think I'm going to play with the tonic water later, maybe try to make a beverage. But everything else came out really well. So overall, I think the experiment was a success, and we got the footage we needed. We've gotten our alien food plated. So this first one is our salt crusted crab sticks with our purple dyed rice with seasoning. I added a scoop of miso and some daikon radish sprouts in order to even out the plate. This next one is our spray painted chicken with our pink dyed mashed potatoes. I added some daikon root that I shredded and some green onion to give it a little bit more of an elegant touch. Over here we have a salad made from our coleslaw, which never did really dry, but I think that gave it an interesting texture as well. And we put our teal pears on the top of that. And then I added a garnish made of fried seaweed snack. And I think they came out really well.
Yep, tastes like chicken.